institutions and their involvement in this new asset class is changing. And that's the investment side of this asset class. Now, one of the main factor which will bring the majority of investors and the side of next reality is utility, the utility side of it. And the recognition of that utility will kick in more investors to this side. This particular document shows us a lot of information. These guys had the reach to correct individuals. In the page number 3 of this particular document, it says they spoke to innovation officers and managers responsible for deploying practical blockchain and DLT use cases in areas like cross-border payments, trade finance, and foreign exchange settlement. Now remember, this is a document combining a university, which is CCB University, and OMFIF. So these two are really working well on the research side and for that of industrial payments. Now, when we move on to page number 5, they show us public blockchain, consortium, private blockchain and all. And as we move down to say page number 7, we get to see this one, regulatory concerns across applications. So this is on page number 7. It shows industry use case of DLT, right? Industrial use case recognized for DLT. And in this side, say they name Ripple and XRP here as an example. In one side, typical financial actors, when you see banks and fintech, and they name example Swift. Now we know Swift is not a technology company, so first of all, they don't have any kind of technology in the financial side, so the fintech name won't be there for Swift, right? And here for the compliance also, you'll get the same, banks and fintech firms, incumbent service providers like Swift. So it's just the status quo Swift. The fintechs are also involved for what? Back office settlement, reconciliation, messaging, compliance, everything related to that regulatory side, and then means of payment. So these are all connected for what? For this payment type. That is the means of payment and what is being used for the payment. And here in the example, you can see Ripple's XRP, Facebook's Libra, which is still a white paper, then Visa, Santander OnePayFX. Now, remember, this is Ripple's own software, runs on Ripple, right? They are not using XRP, but the software runs on Ripple. And then here they are giving the token as well, Ripple's XRP. So that's the account based versus token based. Now here in this one, if they are not using XRP, it's not token based, it's just account based. Still kind of something which is using the old Nostro Vostro kind of thing. Now, when we look at this particular entire document, this shows us a lot of things which is going to be so huge in the near future. For example, when we actually move into say, there's a lot of example in between too, but one of the important one which I felt is on page number 13, this one. An example which they show here itself is huge. Say in this page, it directly shows it can replace Nostro Vostro accounts to reduce all those fee and associated things with it and move that entirely into an XRP pool. So consider the international money spent on Nostro Vostro accounts is like 20 trillion, 15 trillion. Based on McKinsey report back in 2016, it shows like $27 trillion. And if that is moving into XRP pool, okay, not that, just consider the entire Nostro Vostro, which is 27, just consider 10% of it, which will be just $2.7 trillion. If that is being moved into XRP pool, it's like, in the last bull run, the entire cryptocurrency market cap was like below 1 trillion, around 0.8 trillion. So in that aspect, 2.7 trillion just for XRP would be so huge, it may actually take the price like from the last time. Imagine we were around $3.5, $3.8. Next thing would be taking us somewhere around $30 to $50 just based on that one, right? Now, in this one, when we actually read through, we can understand they show us an example, 5 million worth of XRP to another bank's Ripple portfolio, which can be then converted into a local currency. So that means they're sending XRP from one bank's ledger to another bank's ledger. So banks are using XRP to do the transfer and they can hold in their books. So Ripple is seeking to position itself as an alternative to Swift Its software controls the relevant bank's funds and updates each party's account books. Settlement process is completed in seconds. Remember that they are not only talking about Ripple, the software, they are talking about XRP ledger, because they're talking about the settlement and the use of XRP to do that settlement. Now, stay tuned as we follow this entire document, because it has a lot more things to be covered, in which we get the more perspective about our investment. As we move on to the related information from this particular article and the new updates which should be connected to this one, many documents are to be presented today. I'll try to present as much as possible, but I have a lot of documents. I'll see what time duration it's being taking. We'll actually go through all of this if time allows. Otherwise, I'll just try to conclude. As I have read through these documents, I'll try to give you guys a summary of what I'm looking at for the general perspective. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing daily. If you guys saw value in the contents I just showed you guys in the intro section, do support the channel, hit that like button, and now we can continue through these documents and look at how the industry itself is changing, because it's kind of showing you guys that it's the current economic situation is gonna change, and it may not change for a long time. If we are lucky, the world will pass the peak of this current pandemic within the next 6 months, but the economy or governments and other things related to this will actually take years to recover. Now, that is considering in next 6 months we pass through the peak. I don't actually think that's happening, but that's the positive side. We should be looking at the positive side, right? So in that case, it's going to take next 3 to 5 years to get us back to where we were before this one. Governments are desperate, and during desperate times they can implement desperate measures, and we can actually see regulations changing on digital assets just on the financial side of it, right? This particular document shows the SEC is changing the scene for institutional traders. Now the institutions are entering the space. From last Grayscale's report of last 20 separate hedge funds, institutions, including even the Rothschild, that was really huge. They are looking at it, they are on it. That's so huge to say. They are in it. Addison Capital, as they name here, Horizon, Kinetic, Ark Invest, and a lot of other firms, right? And they are investing in digital assets because they know the fundamental of this asset. Now, when we say they know the fundamental of this asset, keep this in mind. I have a figure here which I would really like to show you guys. This is based on human psychology. I have repeated that many times here. I don't know how many of you will agree with that, but this is like two assets from entirely different asset classes. And if you look at them, one thing is for sure: human plus money in investing is something like this. That's why in this one bottom, he shows this is the psychology of the market cycle. Why? Because we are all human beings. Even though bots are included in this trading, majority of the time it looks something like this. Not similar, not like it's similar to this, not repeating the same chart, but it's kind of similar to this one. And that's kind of verified by this one from two asset classes, and they are looking entirely similar, the investor's perspective. Now, when the investors are entering into this space, say we are going to the top of this document and start from there, they are looking at how to solve this one, right? And when they need to understand how to solve this one, they actually went to the right side to understand how they can see the use case of this one. So the first section shows blockchain as the solution and its limitation. Now, when they say limitation, they are talking about Bitcoin. There was a couple of documents I went through before I, just sorted out on shooting this one out. In that, it says, negative about the blockchain because they consider blockchain as Bitcoin. And they say, it's not that integrative thing. Say, for example, here also they says, however, Bitcoin's lack of wider integration and technological infrastructure and its uncertain position in existing regulatory frameworks have hampered mass adoption of blockchain. And along with that, they also say it's like the scalability, 7 transaction, 10 transaction, that doesn't actually solve the world's problem. You need huge. They give the example of Visa and MasterCard showing tens of thousands of settlement per second, the transactions per second. In that aspect, Ripple just updated last year, they have 65,000 plus in their transaction per seconds. If you look at Ripple's website, you can understand that. Now in the consortium one, you can actually get R3, Hyperledger, and all these are examples showing for the consortium blockchain. Now in that one, the R3 is included. So as we go further, we can understand they are looking at this thing seriously. The industry has identified 5 main pain points that DLT could address, which is the security, speed of transaction, transparency and traceability, risk and cost management. Now in these 5 critical areas, we can understand DLT is providing the solution by creating a DLT network. It could eliminate all these single points mentioned above. So that is kind of the way they are looking at this asset class. Now, as we move on to the page number 7, this one, say bank office settlement reconciliation. And this side, we can see typical financial actors who are involved in that. Blockchain and DLT use cases, they name like JP Morgan, that is Interbank. Then settlement clearing systems exchanges like Citi, Nasdaq blockchain. Now we know the connection with Nasdaq, right? Then intra-bank foreign exchange settlements. Now, these are the back office back end settlement process we used to talk about. Now, for an example, when we showed you the words from the DTCC chief that time, they told you just the DTCC was processing the back end processing for them was like $1.6 quadrillion at that time. That's a couple of years back, and now it should be $2 quadrillion just for them. So considering that, all of these institutions are going through that process, and the total amount or the target market is so huge. It won't just be as I highlighted in the initial part, that $2.7 trillion, which is the 10% of $27 trillion. It won't be like that. It was just an example showing you that even if we are only catching up to that 10% mark, that would take us so huge. Because if you look at the market cap, now yes, I agree market cap is not a good metrics to talk about comparing the future, but majority of you guys won't understand if I don't include that. So for example, considering $2.7 trillion and last market cap of XRP, you can understand it's going to go much higher than that. Now here, why are they actually using this kind of a DLT? Streamlining trade finance process such as letters of credit, bill of lading, invoices, and everything for trade, right? So they are looking at the regulatory side, and then how they are using this payment, they are directly naming Ripple's XRP. So there is no kind of doubt that this is being adopted, and the fundamental side of it, because at the bottom they talk about central bank digital currencies. Now when they talk about central bank digital currency, keep in mind as we go further, they talk about the interoperability, which is needed for everything. In this particular table, say on page number 11 of this document, they talk about the tokenization and availability of characteristics. And in that tokenization area, they are showing you fintech and cryptos, XRP. They are not showing you, even when they say cryptos, they are not showing you the technology side like Bitcoin, because they don't even consider that as a technology. Now, keep in mind, fintech, cryptos, it's a financial technology, but at the same time, it's also considered as a crypto, and that is XRP, right? So there is no, like, they're not including any other, like I have seen some of the comments in my comment section. I couldn't actually respond to those. I'm sorry about that. And just personal info, I'm on a personal break, a summer break here for last 2 days and next 8 days. So a 10 days break for the summer vacation. And I really find it hard to find the time to go through the comments and try to respond to everything now, because I'm spending majority of my time with Adam. So I'm trying to find time to research whenever he's sleeping and take all the data and go through that and then present it when he's sleeping again. So sorry about that. Now, in that one, they were actually discussing about IOTA and Ripple. Now, both are actually entirely different. You can't actually really compare between them. And even if you're comparing between them, you know, the tokenization aspect, the central banks, the adoption, the partnerships, no other company in the DLT space comes anywhere near Ripple and XRP. That should be kept in mind when we talk about the target market. Now, when we talk about the central banks, and in the same side of the use case, we were showing you the central bank's perspective of central bank digital currency, right? Why? To enhance the customer protection, financial system stability, resilience, respond to private sector innovation, which is, the Ripple, Bitcoin, and other stuff. So here, when they look at the use case of that particular thing, central bank money, it's digital money. Now, when they focus on the digital money, what are they focusing on? They are focusing on RTGS, fintech, crypto, sandbox interoperability. So here you get the fintech. What is the fintech and crypto? Fintech and crypto, which is that it's XRP public traded over exchanges controlled by Ripple. Now it's not controlled by Ripple. Just the escrow releases, you can say they are controlled by Ripple's escrow agreements. That's the way I look at it. But the initial focus is itself on fintech and crypto, which is mentioned here. That's XRP, and the interoperability, which the ILP. Now, if you look at the Bank of England's web page and go through the proof of concepts, you can understand how they are eyeing the Interledger protocol. Now, they went through a lot of different projects, say Ubin, Jasper, and others we have covered in this channel itself, right? And when we look at the next generation, say the millennials and the next upcoming generation Z, young population built from bottom up, payment alternative to Swift. That's what fintech and crypto. And that is why we are going into that one. And when we look at this particular system, it should also be what? Business friendly. And business and policy imperatives they are talking here is the innovation, scalability, and crypto economy. That's what they are eyeing at. When they are eyeing at that type of a digitized economy, they are coming up with what? Tokenization. Now, distributed through commercial bank wallet on a central bank ledger. So what is it? Central bank digital currency. And we know the second side of it, which is, central banks directly cannot provide the retail central bank digital currency unless it is a country like China. So, there are issues for that. That's why they are looking at synthetic central bank digital currency. And at the bottom, when they look at the governance and platform, you can see R3, alternative DLT, and even non-blockchain. Why? Because non-blockchain, Ripple's ledger is not a blockchain technology. It's something similar, but it's not a blockchain. We understand that, right? Now here, decentralized Ripple's network for the payment. Now we saw how it can be used live with daily transaction volume of hundreds of millions. Not regulated, not an MSB, only a technology provider. That is the company Ripple. And here talking about crypto, it's not completely regulated. Yeah, I agree, because the SEC never told that this is the case for XRP. Instead, they talked like, the China coin, the Bitcoin is this, Ether is this. They never gave you the clarity for XRP. Why? These are the reasons, because they consider it for the use cases of what? In the last video also, we represented you the documents and they talked directly like this. It's not for the retail investors. Instead, it is for interbank or financial institutions and businesses for them to operate successfully, right? So they are talking about that. Now, banks do tend to have some appetite for radical disruptive innovation as smaller companies. And if you look at the partners of Ripple and those who are using XRP, you can see it's kind of something like this. The financial institutions who are small and who have to pay the big institutions like Citi to execute their payments are coming into this radical and disruptive innovation. That is the technology they are looking at. And they are looking at for what? Extensive industry changes in cross-border payments. Now, if you understand this, if you are digesting this properly, you should be having the idea that no one is going to compete, even no one is not even going to compete with XRP. I'm sure about that. Now, I don't know what you guys think. If you have an alternative perspective, do let me know in the comment section below. We can find time to discuss about that, and I will try to support my claim with other documents too, not only this one. Now in the spotlight, we just show you that there is an aspect where you see 5 million worth of XRP is being transferred. So XRP is being used in that particular example, right? This is directly by the OMFIF. Rather than compete with the large banking companies, Ripple plans to partner with them, and they are in the spotlight here. Even in the last central bank's payments news, I showed you guys directly from them. Spotlight was Ripple's employee and talking about cross-border payments. And here in this document, it validates that instead of converting dollars into other currencies, which entails exchange rate cost, processing fees, slows transaction, all the negative side. For example, 5 million worth of XRP can be transferred from bank's Ripple portfolio. So banks will have their own Ripple portfolio, which is the XRP pool which they are talking at the bottom. And how they are representing it? By consolidating liquidity to service international payments for many disjointed international Nostro accounts into one XRP pool. So even if we say 10% of the current system, it won't be like that. That is for sure, because currently that Nostro thing is considering what the correspondent banking network. Now this part you have to be clear and focused. Okay, I'm trying to illustrate my perspective about that. If you look at the correspondent banking system, it's reducing. The number of banking relationships are going down one by one. So the banks, or not all the banks, are using this Nostro accounts to do the transaction. Instead, the small firms will be going into giants like Citi, JP Morgan, and others to execute these payments. So these Nostro are for majority of the big organizations. But when the XRP pool is allotted for everything, they don't need the correspondent banking network. Even the small firms would be putting some capital into it. So it won't be 27 trillion. It can be double, that's for sure. Or even you can add 50% into it. So say it will be around $35 trillion, and then take down the 10%, that will be 3.5. But it won't even be 10% if it's, as I see, it will be at least 20 to 30%, and that could take us into a massive market cap for XRP itself. And if you remember what the experts in this field talked, XRP is gonna even take over Bitcoin, and this will be the reason for that. Now, yes, we haven't yet reached that utility phase yet. The bank only has to hold its domestic currency and maintain one account with XRP, with only enough XRP to service its largest expected payment obligation. So that is the other side of this one. When we say the XRP pool, say a bank is looking at what? A transaction. For example, when they look at their transactions, you have 5 million worth of transaction as the example. And if you look at the largest payment of an bank like Citi or even the small banks, you may have one of these there. So if 5 million worth of 10 million worth of like that XRP is being held by one particular bank in their XRP pool, and a lot of banks, institutions around the world doing the same, it's going to be so huge. Now that's just the banking side of the cross-border payment. Now if you look at the swap market, dollar swap market, you'll understand we are looking at an even bigger thing. Now the reality of multiple consortia, we are seeing multiple consortia, right? And what are they looking at? The example shown here is about the standardization for what? Interoperability. ISO 20022 is the standard used for transactions in the cross-border payments. For a legacy system to work with newly implemented DLT system, now you know which DLT they are talking about, right? So there is no confusion. It would have to be able to interpret, transform these transaction messages and record them on a ledger. The system must be able to execute a transaction from its end and export it so that the older system based on ISO 20022 can be accepted. Now this is going into an area where to talk about the R3, and while working on the standards and protocol, they come towards the DLT and reach R3, Hyperledger, and other things. And what are they talking about? They're directly talking about the interoperability to take the full advantage of network effect. Now if we look at the partnerships of Ripple, the company, and understand that the network effect is kicking in as they change the entire transaction rails to get this interoperability. Here this states the global banking commerce sectors are unlikely to form a single blockchain network. I'm sure about that. And why they are talking about that? Because they are looking at the cross participation that would enable them to communicate in between. Which is kind of, they're talking about the interoperability problem. Now that is why we have the ILP. Now this is just the XRP ledger, and we talked about XRP ledger and Ripple. Now we have a lot of other things coming into this. Why are the ILP, interledger protocol? That's kind of all the money. You can even look at what amount of money will be going through that. Now comparing blockchain platforms, they're using directly R3's Coda here. And that is going to be another thing which is going to be plugged into the world's huge financial system. Now, if you actually want to read this document further, I'll put this in the description below. Majority of the important points I have actually summarized. Now, when we jump into the other things which are recent, which we can actually connect to this one, is top 5 cryptocurrency to watch this week. Now, I'll say for this decade, it'll be XRP. just short term this week, yeah, you'll have all of these. Now the price fluctuation may be different. Now this particular document from Ripple's one of the Ripple's presentation shows cross-border trade between sellers. Now that was the cross-border payments which we are talking there, and now if you look at the cross-border trade between Amazon itself, you can see a lot more than that. The Amazon's payment off to its delivery guy, buying things, purchasing thing. So this document shows you the trade demand, huge transaction volume, immediate international transaction, and all the rest of the things. Now these are the documents which kind of shows you we are going towards a cashless economy, and a survey from 2020, they are talking about these things for different types of payments, aspects and all. And when they define payments, they are showing you the such as Bitcoin, Ether and XRP. Now this is just the economist, whereas they're showing you this technology likely. But when we consider this thing, do understand in the documents like this, which really matters, talk about XRP only for these certain points, right? And when we go down, they actually talk about different aspects of the payment and how this thing is evolving, and then they reach to around central bank digital currency after talking about cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency based on blockchain and not blockchain. Now, this aspect of the research article was really interesting because it is talking about the consensus crash testing, and towards the decentralized side of it, it's so much of it. Now why I say so, because Ripple's network has been implementing or executing transfers from the time of their implementation, and they were never hacked, right? So they are really having highest resiliency as much as possible. Now I would like to connect that with this one. Say for example, that resiliency, when you connect with these volatility, the price or the fees associated with the transaction is not going when the market cycle is peaking. Instead, if you look at the Ethereum, BTC and other blockchain, it's so much crazy in fees, in terms of fees and the time taken to execute those transfers. Now I agree with the Alex Cobb's perspective here, and yes, we have said the same previously here too. If you're buying something which is at the top, say for example something like Link, it may actually go 10 to 20% or something more than that to the upside. But if you're looking at the maximum return of your investment, then you should be buying something which is low. Buy low, sell high. If you're doing the opposite, good luck. Now Michael actually sent me this. Now this is another side or other view of looking at this particular thing. We talked through this and showed you that is really bullish, right? And as we talk further, I would like to highlight that Ripple is now buying XRP. That means what? They don't really have to sell it. Instead, if someone is going to dump huge like the jet and all, they can actually manage buy it and manage a healthy market. So that is actually a positive sign for that one. Now Michael just sent me this in the morning. The CPMI states the faster, cheaper, more inclusive cross-border payments would unlock benefits for citizens and economies by supporting economic growth, international trade and global development. Now I'll go through the entire document and come to you guys in the next video for sure. Next one is crypto adoption source. Now if you look at this one at the top, yes, we can understand that institutional traders are involving and SEC is changing their own perspective towards that, right? And in Slovenia, we can say thousands of locations accept cryptocurrencies. This is becoming a way of payment. Now, when you are not scaled enough, you have limited network, it's okay to use, Lightning network from BTC and other. But when you are scaling it to too high, you still need Bitcoin, right? You still need that miners. You still need that mining pool, the energy, a lot of things which is not sustainable in the longer run. And that's why we are looking at what? XRP. Now, this is the final article which I would like to take you guys through, which talk about the partnership of Wirex. Ripple's partner Wirex granted its first license for money transmission in US in the state of Georgia. Now, this is another aspect of what? Payment. Now in this first one we talked about investment side, and then we understood the fundamentals for payments, that is Ripple itself being highlighted on every different aspect of payment. Then here it shows Ripple spreads its technology via its partners. We agreed that one, either use XRP via R3 or Ripple or any other partner with partner of Ripple and then get into this network. Automatically the network effect will kick in, that's for sure, in the unlimited capacity. Now the price action, if you look, in a shorter time frame, say on a 4-hour chart, for me, I get to see it like this, because if I extend this one, I will argue that this is a resistance 2 points, and then here it's being supported. Now yes, you can draw it like a triangle here, but personally I won't accept that, because if I draw like that, I can actually try like this, I can actually try it like this, so that doesn't make sense. It's just extending these lines as the price moves. But for me, the more number of resistance and supports are being connected, the more valid that pattern is. So if I'm looking at here, if the price is breaking above 0.3 from here, that's a bullish sign. And if you want to measure that move, you can take it from here. And if we actually measure that move from this particular point to the upside, we may see a 30-35% pump in the price. That's actually going to be huge, because on the 4-hour itself, if you look, the MACD is going to cross to the upside, and on a daily, we have already crossed to the upside and we are at the top, and the RSI is bouncing from that overbought level. That is so much bullish, right? The price action is showing you bullish symbol, and if this breaks on a daily, this is going to be a flagged position on a daily. Now we measured on a 4-hour, right? If we measure that on a daily, it's 64% to the upside. So if we actually break to the upside, say we are going to move 64% from here, that would be taking us somewhere around 0.5, 0.6, breaking all these overhead resistance, which would be, at least highlighting many of the naysayers, it's bull run. So that's all for today, guys. If you saw value in the video, you can support the channel, hit that like button. If you like to extend your support, do use that Patreon or PayPal in the description below. You can attain more services via Patreon. You can just visit the Patreon page and look what fits for you. And if you just want to support the channel, it's up to you, it's up to your heart. You can support the channel based on your perspective. So that's all for today, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.